In today's video, we've got even more updates on the American Rescue Plan Act, otherwise what I call Bidencare, as well as me addressing the possibility of Medicare eligibility rules making you eligible for Medicare at 60 years old instead of 65. All that and a new seminar, which is going to be addressing all of these and the ripple effects on retirement planning. All of that coming up next. Welcome to the Much More Than Medicare channel. I've renamed the channel because what has happened over the American Rescue Plan Act, which has recently been enacted by President Biden, is exactly the reason of why I've changed the channel. The fact of the matter is, Medicare is the shallowest end of the pool of the things that I do. I'm a certified financial planner. I run GH2 Benefits. I'm the author of Maximize Your Medicare. Medicare is just a simple variation, the shallowest end of the pool. The fact of the matter is that the Affordable Care Act has been changed enormously overnight. The ripple effects are going to affect basically every video that I've made on this channel. But it's not a surprise. If you had simply followed the channel, watched the other videos, got the principles, the ideas that I've been putting out in the videos, you will be able to adjust. Things are going to continue to change. If anything, I'm understating stuff here. Meaning that, I don't like extreme statements, something like, worst thing ever or something like that. Because that presumes that you won't hear something even worse in the future. So ever is kind of, something I don't really do. It's not an understatement, though, that the American Rescue Plan Act totally changes the way that someone would consider retirement, especially. So for that, I've created a new webinar. And the webinar is going to be scheduled for May 18th. The flyer there here on your screen. Registration's required. I do end up having to charge for it because of the fact is I'm trying to keep away from the wild goose chasers. So in addition to that, a couple of extra things that I need to add, which is that this webinar is going to be recorded and stored in one location and one location only, which is gh2unfiltered.com, a subscription site. And as in the past, I've offered this book, Maximize Your Medicare, my book, including shipping, to anywhere in the lower 48. So if you subscribe to GH2 Unfiltered the first year, basically the book is free, the webinar is free in recorded form. If you just want to watch the webinar, then it's less. There's a link in the text below this video. You can register. Spaces are limited. I'm doing that intentionally. And once we reach capacity, that'll be it. Then the only path will be through GH2 Unfiltered. May 18th, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, probably take around 90 minutes. The reality is that because of the American Rescue Plan Act, the way that people have considered the timing of retirement is now entirely different and looks to remain so for the coming future. Among the many reasons you want us to like and subscribe, wait a minute, let me give you a couple seconds. You can like and subscribe. I'll give you 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. Now, the fact of the matter is the rules of the game are changing, and there's no bigger area, is the reality, than in health insurance. The fact of the matter is that Bidencare, what I've called Bidencare from the previous segment, has a number of different layers. And I need to make a couple of the things, that have changed very, very clear. The most important one of those is this, is that you can get lower health insurance premiums through August 15th. Through August 15th, we have, my sites, GH2 Unfiltered, GH2 Benefits, Maximize Your Medicare. These two sites have seen basically 5x the amount of website traffic over the past month. 5x. Literally, in a month. So I know that, lots of people are aware that this does affect them. They're not exactly sure. Not exactly sure what the rules are. Right now, as it currently stands, August 15th is the date. Now, it's important to know a couple of distinctions. Distinction A is this is true for healthcare.gov. In order to get the higher subsidies, the higher discounts, the bigger discount, you need to go through either healthcare.gov or your state-specific site. There are a number of different state-specific sites. For example, I just dealt with a person from Maryland this morning, and I helped her, direct her on exactly what needed to be done because I could not assist in that specific area. B is that I'm a little wary, and you need to be very careful if you're going to the state-specific site. These sites have had different timings. Because insurance is controlled at the state, they can add a different twist. They can have bigger, in other words, wider enrollment rules that they can impose, that they can just create on top of what the federal has done, right? So you can think of the federal as a minimum standard, and then the state can put on extra on top of it. Let's call this the federal standard, and the state can put extra on top of it, okay? What I can't do is I cannot tell you with 100% certainty that the math of the discount on the state sites is precisely correct. I can't make that representation to you. It does make me worried a little bit. And the reason for that is that simple just staff, right? I mean, we're not just sure whether or not state number 3012 has enough people to implement into their systems, enrollment systems, correctly. Now, I hope that is the case. I can't say that for sure. So, those are the basic rules here as they currently stand. Now, the reason that I asked you to subscribe and like and all that kind of stuff is to remind you and hit that notification bell. Is because the rules are still in flux. Now, I don't think we're going to roll back right from August 15th. I just find that impossible, candidly. In fact, I just give you this rhetorical question, which is, name one government assistance program which has ever been rolled back once it's been rolled out, right? We've never seen toothpaste being put back into the tube. Not when it comes to a government assistance program. And this is why when the Affordable Care Act first was accepted and then ratified by not only the Congress, but then also confirmed by the Supreme Court, I said, yeah, you want to turn off the ACA? Good luck with that. That has turned out to play out, hasn't it? In the same way, I don't think that August 15th is in any threat. In fact, the other day, last night, or 2 nights ago, I guess it was, when President Biden was in front of the joint session, he proposed making those expanded APTCs, the Advanced Premium Tax Credit, the health insurance subsidy, he proposed to make those levels permanent. Now, there are nuances in there. Don't get me wrong. For example, does this fix, certain inherent issues? It doesn't. Let's review them now. Roman numeral 1. I'm trying to keep all the letters and numbers straight because there's so many different moving parts here. So Roman numeral 1. This does not fix the underlying cost of healthcare. Doesn't. an MRI still costs $4,000. I know because I've had a CT scan. It costs about that amount, $4,000. So my point being that, and it was negative, by the way. Anyway, the point is that the underlying cost of healthcare hasn't changed a bit. In that way, lots of, and this goes back to one of my central principles for people who have watched a lot of the videos on this channel, you can understand this is why I'm up here on the soapbox saying health insurance is not equal to health care. Health insurance is not health care. Health insurance is not health care. I've repeated this 100 times. I'm low at 100. Right? In other words, these proposals against COVID to get America going again, et cetera, by the new president, right? They're fixing the cost of orange juice. They are not fixing the cost of oranges. Okay? There's your very, very simple example. To subscribers of GH2 Unfiltered in the coming days, you will have my opinion, my comments on that. You can probably connect the dots here. Roman numeral number 2 is that every age division should be taking a look at this, right? And that links back to all the other videos on this channel, which is that, I've been calling health insurance, Medicare being a type of health insurance, not being the same as healthcare, but really about what you're paying, the premium, and what you're possibly getting as a payout, meaning the benefits you can get. So for someone in my age division, et cetera, you can go and have certain screenings. For a female, you can have mammogram. Okay? So the important thing here is that if you're 26, and this is what I'm telling you, if you're an adult and you have adult children, or if you have other young adults in your life, these fixes to the cost of orange juice here are so big that health insurance now is no longer hundreds of dollars a month. Very commonly, we can find it at less than $100 a month, and in many cases, zero. And this is very important, right? Because like I said, insurance, the entire principle of this channel is about trying to keep separate topics separate. So in other words, follow the cash flow. To my accountants out there, to people who are financial people out there, follow the cash flow is, kind of, the basic building block. But what ends up happening is, you get hit by, accusations and bar talk and coffee talk and, horror stories, and you get distracted. But if you go back to follow the cash flow, you can get it, right? So your 28-year-old male, Mr. Perfect, you never go to the doctor. Well, yeah, your payout isn't great because you never go to the doctor because you're in perfect health at 28-year-old male. But look, health insurance at zero makes a lot of sense. And so you can understand the idea of never give away a free option. Now, of course, for females, more complicated. People, family planning, for example, whether be and some of that can be intentional, some of it can be unintentional. Meaning that now all of a sudden, you can then, after the fact, because of these wider enrollment rules and notably lower premiums, be able to at least figure out whether or not reasonably affordable health insurance is possible. For those who have followed this channel and watched multiple videos, you'll understand what I'm about to say very quickly, which is that I have no prediction here on the outcome over the proposal to lower the Medicare eligibility age. It exists. The proposal exists to lower the eligibility age from 65 to 60. Okay. And there's a reason that I don't have this, overriding type of opinion about whether or not this is good or bad. Okay. And what I will just say is that the stakeholders here that would be having a very strong opinion on this debate are enormous. And there is no way to predict the outcome of it. What do we know? Very obviously, what do we know? Doctors and hospitals will not be very happy because basically what that means is 16 million people in the United States will be paying their doctor or the hospital a lower rate. Period. That's it. Right? And by lower rate, I mean much lower rate. This is well known. We are not going to get into the statistics. Basically, if you took a 20% pay cut for 20% of your work, you would not be happy. Bingo. Now you're a doctor. Okay? Let's just say, however, you are a city or a company, and now all of a sudden, you don't have to pay for retiree health insurance for a 63-year-old, which costs $1,000 a month easily per person. Maybe you have to cover the spouse as well. You would have a different view. Is there room in the middle? I don't know. That's why I have no opinion. From there, however, I do have some opinions and some thoughts on about this proposal. So, tongue somewhat in cheek, but obviously that authors of published books on Medicare have a vested interest to some degree. Right? I mean, there's 63 million of you that have the Medicare card. Right? All 63 million of you haven't bought this book, I promise you. And I'm also, after speaking literally in more than 100 venues around the country, my best guess is about, out of the 63 million card holders, 58 million of you have no idea how Medicare works. So it's not like even 5 million have bought this book, right? So what you're going to basically be doing is adding an extra 16 million. So here's what my two takeaways will be, and then I'm going to stop, literally. The first one is that this book is being revised, and I'm going to be making some slightly different, nuanced changes or more blatant statements in the beginning. And something that I've shared with subscribers of GH2 Unfiltered, which is the time to plan for Medicare is 2 years prior to the first person eligible. So let's just take the quick example. You're single. The first time you should understand Medicare is 2 years prior to your eligibility date. So you're 60 under current rules. You're 63. At that time, it's time to understand Medicare. Why? Because of the tax and IRMA implications. And if those sound like jargon to you, that's the point of the book. Second, let's say you're married. Female spouse 66, male spouse 61. The time for that couple was when the spouse turns 63. Too frequently, I get this call from this household, right? I'm 66, my husband is 61. We don't really understand Medicare. Jay, can you help us? Yes, you're 3 years late is what I don't say. Oh, I should say it. Why? Same reason. Right? Because a lot of their financial decisions, their career decisions, etc., their lifestyle decisions has been driven by the fact that they were covered by health insurance And now that female spouse was worried about the male spouse and covering the male spouse at 61. Now you can understand how complicated the world has become. Why? For example, the American Rescue Plan Act now makes the 61-year-old insurable at a far lower rate, 70 to 90% off. 90% off in Florida can be found, for example. That just went from $1,200 a month to $100 a month. I've seen it. We've got new clients doing it. Now all of a sudden, the 66-year-old spouse, for example, working on a job that she doesn't like, but only for its sole real reason to cover the 61-year-old spouse, no longer has that reason. Oh, and by the way, the reality is that that 61-year-old spouse could have also gotten a subsidy for a lot of it, and the 66-year-old spouse could have just paid $148 for Medicare and $0 for Medicare Advantage, for example, in that instance. Could have all of that happened? Yeah, absolutely. And now you can see my point. Is the real ripple effect here to the lower Medicare eligibility age proposal is the fact that now we've backed that up by 5 more years. So now what the new timeline would be is when the oldest spouse was 58, right? Medicare eligibility, let's say it was 60. That means the oldest spouse, when they turn 58, they would have to learn an entirely new language and learn it quickly. Because while Medicare looks like and says at the top of the card, Medicare health insurance doesn't work anything like individual health insurance or employer-sponsored insurance. Literally, that's my only stake in the game here. Because the fact is that the feedback loop is the fact, let's just take the 61-year-old and 66-year-old married couple. Now all of a sudden they say, oh, wait a minute. I can now retire. I'm out. And now all of a sudden the company has realized, okay, well now I don't have to cover these people. So now they may want to have Medicare at a lower eligibility age, where today they don't necessarily know. And in addition to that, since we don't know how many people would actually change their mind or change their life on this, we're not sure how hard these companies are going to put their stake in the ground, or how hard the municipalities are going to put their stake in the ground. We've got state and local municipal finances in a mess. Not because of pension, but actually because that's known, right? But the real unknown, the real elephant in the room, not just that elephant in the room, right? The real elephant in the room is other post-retirement financial obligations. And what does that mean? What's that code for? Healthcare cost obligation. So, I said I had no opinions, but reality is that that's because the layers that I've just discussed here are very, very complicated under huge stakeholders. However, to individuals, very clear. 2 years prior to turning Medicare eligible, whether that be under current rules or under proposed rules. That's when you should learn a new language. Available for less than $15 on Amazon.com. Don't get me wrong, there are other books out there too. All right. That's it for today. Okay, we're going to have a lot more. Don't forget, please sign up for the webinar. That is going to be very valuable. We're going to be going through all these different extra layers and show you actual examples of the math of money here and how different it can be and how dramatic the financial implications are here. And for persons anywhere close to retirement age, it is an absolute must, because the math and the lenses that people are examining all the moving parts. I can tell you that as a retirement planner, when I discuss the different moving parts for different people, they don't actually understand how all the pieces fit. And now all of a sudden, and in fact, they may have thought because they read in some flyer, I need to have $500,000 for healthcare costs. Okay, no one said you need $500,000 today. So my point here is that, and then now the number has changed. So for those types of reasons, I'm going to be demystifying the new math, especially under a new health insurance regime, which really has changed overnight. I'm Jay. Thank you for watching today's video. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification if you like the video. It's hard, and you probably have to watch this multiple times because I try not to talk for 2 hours. But as you can hear, even a single statement can change your outcomes. If you have comments, emails, you can see them and resources in the text below this video. Thanks for watching.